please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Slapped out and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody. Last night's Battle of Alberta between the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers was the most anticipated game of this season so far, and it absolutely delivered. What a game last night. Had everything that we all could have wanted, and this is one of those rare instances where these hyped up, highly anticipated games actually comes through and lives up to it, and it was just an outstanding game. Before we fully get into the video, I want to quickly remind everyone to please hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Both of those things greatly help out and are very much appreciated. Alright, so where do we start? There's so much to talk about with this game. Obviously, the big build-up, everything was about Matthew Tkachuk versus Zack Kassian and everything that happened the last time those two played against each other, the last time these teams played. Matthew Tkachuk manned up and dropped the gloves with Zack Kassian, and I said in my video before the game last week about this that I would give Matthew Tkachuk a lot of credit if he actually stood up and fought Kassian one-on-one, and he did do that. So much respect to Matthew Tkachuk for that. He deserves it. He deserves credit for that. I honestly did not think that he would. I did not think that Matthew Tkachuk would line up out of face-off and actually fairly square up with Zack Kassian, and he did. And they fought right off of face-off towards the end of the first period. Kassian said after the game that Tkachuk wanted to do it right away, but Kassian wanted to play a little game with him and make him think about it for a little while, and then towards the end of the period, they ended up going right off the face-off, and Kassian certainly won the fight. Tkachuk lost his balance there pretty quickly, and Kassian looked like, watching the video a number of times, that Kassian did connect on one or two of those quick lefts that he was throwing. So Kassian definitely won the fight, but Tkachuk deserves the credit and the respect for standing up and fighting him one-on-one and answering the bell this time, which he did not do the last time these two teams played. So there was another fight as well that was actually the better of the fights. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Sean Monahan threw down also in the first period, and that was an outstanding heated fight between two guys that hardly ever drop the gloves. I love when star players go at it and when they fight, because you don't see it very much, but when they do fight, it's usually, it's very emotional. They're really, for guys like that to drop the gloves, they are really upset, and they are heated, and they usually throw throw down in fights like that, and we definitely saw that between Monahan and Nugent-Hopkins. This was only Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' third career fight. This was Sean Monahan's first career fight. These guys hardly ever drop the gloves and they threw some big-time punches. These guys dropped the gloves and threw down. So, that was absolutely awesome to see that. The game was physical throughout. It was everything that, you could have wanted as a fan going into this game. We had two fights. We had lots of hits. And it was just a heated matchup, and nothing too crazy happened. Nothing got out of hand. There were no massive brawls or anything like that. It was just good quality physical hockey. Couple of fights, and it was pretty much exactly what you could have hoped for as a hockey fan. And on top of it, it was a great hockey game as well. It was a close, hard-fought matchup between two pretty evenly matched teams. Calgary ended up winning 4-3 in a shootout, but on top of all the physicality and everything, it was a great hockey game as well. So this game really had everything you could have been looking for as a hockey fan. It had the physical aspect, it had the fights, it had the goal scoring, it had the talent. It was a close game. It was a hard-fought game. Went in, all the way into overtime and into a shootout. It was just a spectacular hockey game, and this is one of those rare instances where the game actually lives up to the hype, lives up to the anticipation, and it was really, really good. My one complaint, and this I probably could do a whole video itself on, but my one complaint, how the hell was this not a national TV game in the U.S.? How was nobody in the U.S., unless you have NHL TV or NHL Network, able to watch this game? That makes zero sense to me. The NHL and NBC should be embarrassed that on NBCSN last night was Tampa Bay against the freaking LA Kings, one of the worst teams in the league. That game was on national TV, and the Battle of Alberta wasn't? Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me, NBC? Why couldn't they switch it? Why couldn't they change? NBC should have been begging the NHL to change that game to the Battle of Alberta. The NHL should have been begging NBC to let them change that game to the Battle of Alberta. I don't care, who's in control of what gets changed and whatnot. Both entities should have been on the same page with that. The TV network and the league should have been begging each other to make that Calgary Edmonton game the NBCSN game, and not the frickin' LA Kings. What are the LA Kings doing on national TV anyway? We knew before the season started that they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. What are they doing even having an NBC game? I don't get it, and I rant against NBC all the time because their coverage of hockey in the U.S. is horrible. It's horrible. They pick awful games to show. This is why hockey is the least popular sport of the Big Four by far. It's not even close. Their TV scheduling is awful. You're going to show a cross-conference snooze fest between the Lightning and the Kings instead of one of the best rivalry games in the NHL all season long? Are you shitting me? If this was the NFL, that game would have been flexed to Sunday Night Football and would have been on every single TV screen in the U.S. that watches sports. That would have been a primetime Sunday night game if this was the NFL. But the NHL just leaves it as, I'm sure it was massive in Canada. I'm sure that was a massive, massive game in Canada. But when it comes to the U.S., when it comes to here, nobody got to watch that game. Are you kidding me? The most anticipated game of the season, and hardly anybody gets to watch it. It's a joke, and that is why the NHL continues to lag behind every other sport in the U.S. because of shit like that. And I could do a whole video itself on NBC and the NHL and their awful scheduling and how they don't show good games, the right games hardly ever. I'm not even going to go into that. It's ridiculous that we couldn't watch that game unless you have, the fact that wasn't a national TV game in the U.S. is just ridiculous. That's exactly the type of game that hockey fans are looking to watch. And they show a snooze fest cross-conference game instead. It's unbelievably stupid. Unbelievably stupid by NBC and the NHL. But back to the game. The game was outstanding, had everything you could have wanted. Physicality, fights, goal scoring, tight game, huge divisional matchup. The Battle of Alberta is back. It's again one of the top rivalries in the NHL. And not to mention, these teams play again Saturday night. I'm sure no one in the U.S. is going to be able to watch that one either, I'm sure. But they play again on Saturday night, which I believe is the final matchup of the season, if I'm not mistaken, because they've played 3 times already. So we'll see how Saturday goes, but Edmonton, Calgary, one of the top rivalries in the NHL right now. Battle of Alberta, and last night's game absolutely lived up to all the hype and anticipation. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.